First of all, it's a pleasure to be here and to reconnect with old friends and meet new friends. And I should start by introducing myself a little bit. I was active in the Arizona Libertarian Party in the 1990s, principally, and had the pleasure of running for governor in 1994 and for state legislature in 1996. I lost both times, but it gave me the bug to try to get into government somehow. I don't know why that was. So in 2001, I was appointed to be a Superior Court judge. And then I sort of disappeared from the political scene for two reasons. First of all, judges are not allowed to support or endorse political candidates. We're barely allowed to vote. It's extremely limited what we can do in that regard. And we're not allowed to, well, and we're even limited as to how much money we can contribute to political campaigns. So you haven't been seeing me contribute much to political campaigns. I haven't endorsed any candidates or any political organizations for that matter. And I won't be doing that today. I won't be endorsing anybody. In fact, my remarks today are almost going to be the opposite of an endorsement. And you'll get the flavor of that in a few minutes. Also, I've been very busy since 2001 because this is a new career for me and a new job, and I've been working very hard at it. But like most of you, I have been observing what's been going on in the Libertarian Party, if not active in it. And I attended the 2006 convention in Portland as an observer. That was a treat. I've been watching, of course, the presidential conventions in 2004 and 2008, both on C-SPAN and on the web and everything else. So I've been able to form some ideas about what's right and wrong with the Libertarian Party, and I have to say that I'm extremely discouraged. And that's what I meant when I said this really isn't an endorsement. My fear is that unless there are fundamental and important changes made on the national level of this party, it's going to cease to exist as any sort of have any sort of impact on the national political scene and be any kind of force for the enhancement and spread of liberty throughout this country. I think it's reached essentially a dead end. And let me explain why that is. First of all, I want to take you back a little bit to the 1990s or so when I was active, and many of you were also in the Libertarian Party. At that time, you might remember a lot of national Libertarian leaders saying things like this. You know, we're just on the verge of becoming a real political force in this country. We're on the verge because it turns out that 10, 15, 20% of the American electorate is libertarian, but they just don't know it. That sound familiar? Did you ever hear that? And they had some charts and graphs to show how, in response to certain poll questions, people had very strong libertarian leanings, but they didn't identify themselves as libertarians. So we were told, all we have to do is spread the brand, spread the name, let it be known that we're here, and we should do that in a very, very conventional way. All the candidates should dress like this. All the candidates should soften the way they presented their views on issues. And we ought to really get away from this platform, which has all of this strong language in it about abolish this, change that, we oppose this, etc. Too negative. We don't need that negativity. We need to have a positive, softer spin on libertarianism. And if we can just get our name out there and raise enough money, people will flock to us as the natural alternative and consistent with their supposed, at that time, perceived libertarian leanings. That strategy and approach, I think, has proven to be a complete and total failure. What has happened in the Libertarian Party on the national level now, if you look at the elections between 1972 and the present, and you exclude, for reasons that I won't need to go into here, but if you exclude the 1972 and 1980 campaigns, which were anomalous in fundamental ways, if you take those out, every single national LP presidential candidate has gotten between 0.3 and 0.5% of the vote, without exception. It doesn't matter who it was. Was it David Bergland? Was it Bob Barr? Was it Harry Brown? It doesn't matter. It was a very thin, I would argue not even statistically significant, band in which they all fell. And it didn't matter what approach was taken by those candidates and by the National Party in terms of branding, trademark, softening of issues, changing a platform, throwing the platform out, bringing part of the platform back in, none of it mattered. On a national level, essentially the results were consistent futility. Now, consistent futility might be fine to some people. All right, maybe we'll just sort of stagnate and we'll do outreach one person at a time, and we will eventually, good will triumph, and in fact the numbers will change, and we'll have somebody, some savior will come in, maybe somebody with a lot of money, maybe somebody who's a movie star, somebody will run for the LP, for president, and we'll get 10-15% of the vote, will be in the national debates, and the future of America will change. I think that's highly unlikely, and in fact, the reason why stagnation and going, in my view, staying on the same course that we've been on for the last 20 years or so, the reason why we ought not to do that is that we've reached a dead end. Because now what has occurred at the national level is that the candidacy, and I think the candidacy of Bob Barr is a perfect example of this, but it's not just him, it's people on the Libertarian National Committee and people who surround that committee and have great influence with that committee on the national level, that those people essentially have converted the party. They've converted the party from the Libertarian Party that you would understand by reading those platforms from days of yore and the founding principles of the party, have converted that into a sort of quirky offshoot of Republican conservatism. And you can see this clearly in the campaign that was just run. A campaign which, by the way, the Libertarian National Committee and the party leaders make no apologies for. If you read the post-election campaign rhetoric out of the national office, it's all sweetness and light. It was a great campaign, we had great candidates, we have stuff to build on, hip hip hooray, let's do it again. And the problem with that is what actually occurred was a disaster. Libertarian activists, like the people in this room, at rooms like this spread all over the country, not only weren't energized by the Barr campaign, many of them, and I don't know all of you, I haven't talked to any of you about this, so you may want to stone me in about 10 seconds, but I'm telling you that most of the people that I'm aware of who are in your position actively disliked the Barr campaign. Why? It was on stone, so that's good. Why? Because number one, there was virtually no reference to libertarian principles throughout the campaign. Number two, there was a consistent drumbeat of repetition about how conservative Republicans should move over to vote for Bob Barr. That was his strategy. I think somebody mentioned earlier tonight that there was some contact with the tonight. It feels like a 10-year-old. No, it was an hour or two ago. Somebody mentioned that someone from the Barr campaign didn't want to get in contact with, or didn't want to be on a radio show, a libertarian radio show, because that wasn't the focus of Bob Barr's campaign. Well, excuse me, if you're running for president of the United States and somebody wants you on a radio show, you're on that radio show. You get on that, you reach as many people as you possibly can. And to not reach libertarians is the biggest crime of all, because we do have a core, albeit minuscule, base of support. You've got to energize those people. Those people, like the people in this room, are the people who are going to go out and actually knock on doors and go door to door. They're the people that are going to galvanize around specific issues, libertarian issues, not conservative Republican issues, but libertarian issues. They're the people who are going to be not only the voters that vote for you, they're going to get their neighbors to vote for you, etc. They're going to put up the yard signs. They're going to be the people getting local media plugged in. They're going to be the people who are going to call the Arizona Republic and say, you've got to talk to our presidential candidate when he's in town. No one did any of those things, as far as I can figure out.